Istanbul is one of those cities that completely surprises you. With 19.7 million visitors a year, it's ranked as the 5th most visited city in the world, according to Forbes. It's chaotic, historic, beautiful, and full of incredible food. Sitting between Europe and Asia, the city has thousands of years of history layered into every single street. We recently spent 4 days exploring Istanbul, and in this video, I'm going to show you everything we did, from ancient Roman monuments and incredible mosques to street food, hidden neighbourhoods, and even a cruise on the Bosphorus, all on a budget. I'll also share some practical tips on how to get around and a few famous places we didn't manage to see, but we'll have to go and see them next time. Okay, so let's start with getting around Istanbul. One of the easiest and cheapest ways to get around Istanbul is by using public transport. Taxis are very popular, but the roads get jam-packed and it just takes such a long time to get anywhere. So definitely public transport is the way to go. The city has an excellent network of trams, metro lines, buses and ferries, and most visitors will use the T1 tram line, which runs through the historic centre and connects many of the main attractions. We mainly use the tram, which you can use your debit card and tap in. It's 50 liras a ride, so just under £1, and that's whether you're taking 1 stop or 20 stops. But for some public transport, you'll need the Istanbul cart. It's a reusable travel card you can buy at the machines in a tram stop or a metro stop. We didn't get one, but I would definitely recommend at the beginning of your trip, because we found out the hard way that you absolutely need one to go to the airport. Walking's also a great way to explore the old city because many of the historic sites are surprisingly close together, and we did our fair share of walking. Right, so now let's get into what we did over our 4 days in Istanbul. Day 1 was exploring the historic heart of Istanbul. So we started our first day in Sultanahmet, the historic centre of the city, where most of Istanbul's most famous landmarks are located. Our first stop was the Forum of Theodosius, which dates back to the Roman period where Istanbul was known as Constantinople. This area was once a huge public square built by the Roman Emperor Theodosius in the 4th century. Today only fragments remain, but it's fascinating to imagine what this grand space would have looked like nearly 1,700 years ago. Just a short walk away, you'll find the Obelisk of Theodosius in Sultanahmet Square. The ancient Egyptian obelisk originally stood in Luxor and was brought to Constantinople in the 4th century. Amazingly, it's over 3,500 years old and still standing today. Sultanahmet Square itself was once the Hippodrome of Constantinople, a massive stadium used for chariot racing during the Roman and Byzantine empires. Today it's a peaceful square filled with monuments and gardens, but it used to hold crowds of over 100,000 spectators. We also got our first glance of the famous Istanbul cats, which Jasmine absolutely loved. The locals take such good care of them, and there are vending machines dotted throughout the city where you can buy some kibble for them. Nearby is the tomb of Sultan Ahmet I, the Ottoman Sultan responsible for building the famous Blue Mosque. The tomb is beautifully decorated inside with traditional Ottoman tilework and calligraphy. Another interesting historical marker there is the Stone of the Million. This was once the point where all the distances in the Byzantine Empire were all measured, similar to the milestone in ancient Rome. From there, we walked into Gulhane Park, which used to be part of the gardens of Topkapi Palace. Today, it's a peaceful green space perfect for escaping the busy streets and enjoying views towards the Bosphorus. We stopped for a simit, which is a sesame-coated bread ring similar to a bagel, which they typically spread with cheese, olive spread, or even Nutella. This was 20 lira, and super delicious. Hidden within the park is the Column of the Goths, one of the oldest Roman monuments in the city, thought to commemorate the Roman victory over the Goths. At the edge of the park, you'll find a fantastic lookout over the Bosphorus, where you can watch ferries and ships crossing between Europe and Asia. Walking back along the river to Sultanahmet, you can also see sections of the Byzantine walls, which once protected Constantinople for centuries and helped make it one of the most fortified cities in the world. We ended our day at the incredible Blue Mosque. Built in the early 1600s, it's famous for its 6 minarets. It's breathtaking inside and is decorated with thousands of Iznik tiles and painted floral motifs in predominantly blue colours, which gives the mosque its popular name. It's still an active mosque, so there are timed visits in between prayer times and visitors need to dress modestly. Don't worry if you aren't suitably dressed, they will supply you with clothes and headscarves. It's free to enter and there's always a queue, but it's well worth the wait. On our second day, it was all about exploring some lesser known historical spots and just generally having a wander around. We started off at the historical fish market, which is down by the harbour, where locals come to buy fresh seafood. The atmosphere here is amazing, with vendors calling out, fish being prepared on the spot, where you can choose your own fish to be cooked in one of the many restaurants. Next, we visited the remains of the Church of St. Polyeuctus. This church was built in the 6th century and was once one of the grandest churches in Constantinople before being destroyed over time. Today, you can still see some of the impressive stone carvings that hint at its former scale. Later, we visited the Aqueduct of the Valens, one of the most impressive Roman engineering projects in Istanbul. Built in the 4th century, this huge structure once carried water into the city from forests miles away. Even today, it stretches dramatically across one of Istanbul's busy roads. It started to rain really heavily, so we thought it was a good opportunity to check the Grand Bazaar out and do some shopping. So the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul is one of the oldest and largest covered markets in the world, dating back to the 15th century during the Ottoman Empire. With over 4,000 shops spread across a maze of colourful alleys, it's a vibrant place to explore everything from handmade carpets and ceramics to jewellery, spices and souvenirs. Even if you don't buy anything, the atmosphere alone makes it worth visiting. If you fancy going up on the roof as well, you can do a rooftop tour, as it was on one of the iconic scenes in Skyfall when they did a chase sequence. We started our day by grabbing a traditional Turkish coffee at a cool little cafe, then walked to Süleymaniye Mosque, one of the largest mosques in the city. It was designed by the famous Ottoman architect Mimar Sinan in 1550, and it's known as one of his masterpieces and offers stunning city views across the Golden Horn. It's not just the size that's impressive, but also the beautifully elegant interior. There are volunteers who come and talk to you about the building and its history, and I have to say that this was my favourite. From here, we headed across the metro bridge, which crosses the Golden Horn and connects the different parts of the city, where you get amazing views of both sides. Walking along the waterfront is a great way to see daily life in Istanbul, with fishermen lining the bridges and locals relaxing along the water. There are tons of restaurants where you can pick up one of the most popular street foods here, a fish wrap, often made with freshly grilled fish straight from the boats nearby. It's simple, but it's incredibly tasty and definitely worth trying. This was 50 lira and well worth it. To get up the steep hill towards Galata, we used the funicular, which is one of the easiest ways to avoid the climb, and also I think it's the oldest in the world. Just a short walk back down the hill, passing shops and cafes, you'll find Galata Tower, a medieval stone tower that offers some of the best panoramic views of Istanbul. It was so busy the day we went, so we didn't climb the tower, but from the top, I believe you can see the Bosphorus, the historic peninsula, and the modern city stretching out in every direction. Next, we walked along Istiklal Avenue, where you can take a ride on the historic tram, which runs 1.6 kilometers to Taksim Square. It's one of the most iconic sites in the city and a fun way to travel through the busy pedestrian area. We did plan to take the tram, but it's so small and can only hold a few passengers, and it's often full, so we just admired them and just kept walking. At the end is Taksim Square, one of Istanbul's most famous public spaces and a hub for shopping, restaurants and nightlife. On our final day, we explored one of the most colourful areas of the city, Balat. It's famous for its brightly coloured houses, narrow streets and historic buildings. It's one of the most photogenic neighbourhoods in Istanbul and a great place to wander, grab a coffee and take photos. It's easy to get there by tram, but I would recommend going in the early morning to avoid the crowds. This was my favourite spot in Istanbul and I could have wandered these streets all day. Heading up the hill, you get to see more great views of the city. We finished the trip with a Bosphorus cruise, which is one of the best ways to see Istanbul from the water. There are many different cruises you can take with many different price points and meal options, but we opted for the cheap and cheerful ferry, which was 250 lira per person for a 1.5 hour city cruise, passing by palaces, mosques, bridges, and waterfront mansions, while giving you a completely different perspective of the city. This was a fantastic and memorable way to end our trip to Istanbul. There are a few iconic places we didn't manage to see this time. So first one, which I really wanted to see, was the Basilica Cistern. It's an underground Byzantine water reservoir, which I've seen the pictures and it looks absolutely stunning. The Hagia Sophia, which is one of the most famous buildings in the world. And lastly, Topkapi Palace, the former residence of Ottoman sultans. These are definitely high on the list for the next visit. Istanbul is one of those cities where history, culture and food come all together in the most incredible way. If you're planning a trip to Istanbul, hopefully this video gives you some ideas of what you can see and how to explore the city. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Ya ben